Here he is. He's in. Hey, James. Let's hope this connection works.
Hey,
Hey, what's up, man? How are you?
I'm good.
Good. You
I'm
got the
nervous.
changeover done. Are you?
Yeah.
Ah, don't be, man. We're just having a bit of crack. There's literally no format. This is way less organized than your podcast, but
Mine's
we'll
pretty
just.
disorganized, to be honest.
We got some pretty big names for being pretty disorganized.
Yeah.
Look at that product placement on that mug. Look at
Yeah.
that.
No, it's like probably the one upside of the virus is that like all big athletes in America and Australia, whatever, they're just all stuck. They have nothing going on. So I just started kind of just peppering machine gun approach, just hit everyone. And like, to be honest, I think it's probably um not easier, but like if you're genuine, like it'd be very easy for me to just have a cut and paste, like cookie cutter message to send to every person that I want on. But I try and find, like, I suppose I don't want someone on if I don't actually want them on. So that you generally there's a reason why I want them on. So like say I interviewed Joshua Al Shama, he was at like he's on Mickey Smith's team
Yeah,
in Wadapalooza.
yeah.
Yeah, so I saw him at Filthy, and he was just like insanely positive when he was like, it was him and Scott Brits, the ones battle cancer, and the
Uh-huh.
two of them were like back in the field and every workout, like they were nowhere, but they just had such a good time. So like I messaged him and I referenced that as a reason I wanted him on. I think I try to do that with anyone that I ask. Like there's a general reason why. I'm not just like, you're a big name, will you come talk to me, please?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so I think when they get those messages, then they like, okay, I'd say I've probably sent about maybe 25 messages in the last week, and I'd say I've gotten like 3 replies, and then the other like 22 are they're not even seen yet. So like I'd say if things get more boring for them, hopefully they'll check the DMs a bit deeper, and you never know who you get.
Yeah, cool. And was he Joshua and Scott? They were on a team at the Filthy as well, I think, were they?
Yeah, they were at Filthy, and then he was with Mickey Smith, and I think him and Mickey Smith were supposed to be going to Shanghai, but like obviously that's not happening
Bit
now.
dodgy. Cool.
Yeah,
So tell me,
it's hard for
how
me.
did the
But
podcast?
how did the podcast start? Sorry. Like I suppose a joke really at the start. Like uh, when Filthy was on, Tim Poulsen came over to our gym. Katie and Joe and Wolfhound organised him to come over and give a seminar, and like I remember the first maybe 40 minutes, he did a class before the seminar started. And I remember looking at him going like, this guy's fucking huge. Like, Jesus, he's massive. His leg is the size of like my whole body. And that kind of way. He was like, uh, I kind of went shy around him or something. Like I didn't know, like I wanted to talk to him, but I didn't know what to say or whatever. And then throughout the course of the day, then little chit chats here and there. And then we went out for dinner afterwards. Like Joe, Katie, and Tim went out for dinner. And I just kind of asked them like, "Oh, was it hard? Like after the rope workout in the games, was it hard not to go back and just do like a million legless rope climbs?" And he was like, "Oh, yeah, I suppose." He's like, "God, I never actually thought. No one's ever asked me that before." And I was like, "What? Like, how has nobody asked you? Like, possibly one of the worst moments of your athletic career, and no one questioned you on it." So then he was up at Filthy, and at the end of that dinner, he was like, "Oh, I'm going to travel around." And he doesn't even know any good coffee places. And I was like, "Oh, I know a few." So I kind of sent him on a few places up in Dublin when he was up there. And then he was kind of tagging me in stories and stuff, saying that he was liking the places I was sending him or whatever. And then Joe said like that there's an Instagram page like Shit Pints of Guinness or Shit Guinness in London or something, and it's like they just show all the shit pints of Guinness basically. So he said, "Oh, you should start one of good coffee or shit coffee or whatever, like do either or." And then literally just as I was reading that message, I was like, "God, you'd have a good podcast there if you did a mix between coffee and fitness, like." And then I was like, "You can call it Coffee Pods and Wods." And I was like, "Holy fuck, I'm on something." So I sent back a message saying like, "Oh, actually, I'm going to start a podcast." And then I said it, and I like didn't want to look like a dick that was like, you know, well, remember the time he said he was going to do that and he didn't do it. So I just kind of ran with it, and like it started off kind of handy enough. I was chatting to Joe. I actually did an interview with Joe's brother Mark that I promised him I'd never play, because he, like, I just wanted to test out the equipment, test out how to do it and stuff, and he had no interest in being heard. So he made me delete it afterwards. Like, but I did that. Then I interviewed Joe. Joe, like, I think he knows so many people around, and he knows like other people around the country would know him a bit from competitions and stuff. So his episode gained way more traction than I thought it would. And then that kind of gave me a bit of a platform to be like, oh look, I have, say, this many listeners, like they'd like to hear your story or whatever. Like, so it kind of just grew, I suppose, a bit unexpectedly. Like, and then I had a bit of downtime as well because of I was on like paternity leave and stuff. And then I kind of did a bit.
That's not supposed to be
done. Well, there's a lot of like, say, an hour of like watching a baby sleep, and like there's nothing to do, like, you know. And then yeah, just kind of, I don't know, it's like I have no idea where I'm going with it. Like, I'd say if I had to do it like a business plan for it or something, you know, like one of those kind of things, I wouldn't have a fucking breeze what I'm doing. Like, I'm just using it basically as an excuse to talk to people that I really want to talk to, and then ask them things that I really want to ask, and hope that there's a common ground there between what I want to know and what I'd ask and what someone listening would ask.
Cool. And you've so would you say, like you said, you had Joe on and that kind of opened up a few doors, and then I think it was like 9 episodes in, I think it was episode 9, you had the Talking Elite Fitness guys on, Tommy and Sean. So did that help as well? Like, do you think that opened a few other ones? Or?
Yeah, like, so I always knew Tim would do one, because as soon as I started, I messaged him, and then I always knew he'd do one. And I said I'd save that for episode 10 just because it'd be a bit of a special one. Like, plus there's the pun of 10 Paulson, so I want to do that as well. And then
the episode titles are good, man.
Yeah, I kind of shit the bed on that because I kind of started doing it with Cup of Joe, and then I was like, right, and another one that makes sense. And I was like, me makes 3, okay. And then the Vincent one, and then after that I was like, fuck, like there's only so many ones we could do. But yeah, then the Totally Fitness lads, like, I was actually saying it to Josh when I was interviewing him yesterday. I was like, you send a message, so like if there was a plan, like, right, step 1, send a nice genuine message. Step 2, I've actually genuinely never thought about what step 2 is. I just send a message and then I get a reply back. Like when Tommy and Shaw messaged back, I was like, oh shit, oh, what do we do now? Like, I was like, I wasn't expecting to even see it, never mind reply. So they were like, oh yeah, cool, we'd love to do that, let me know when. And I was like, okay, sure, whenever you want. Like, but it's still the same now. Like, say I messaged here's an exclusive for you now. I messaged Jacob Hepner and he said he'd do one. And like, when he replied, I'd say I sent him a message about maybe a week ago, and then he put up a thing yesterday of he was saying that he gets these stupid replies to you know, those bot replies kind of things, and he was like, oh, you don't believe me when I tell you that I get these stupid replies, but here they are. And he put up all these replies, and then I replied to that story saying like, oh, if you want an actual genuine message, just look above, and I put an arrow, whatever. And then I left it thinking, sure, that's not going to be seen either. And then about an hour later it was like, yeah, sure, I've loads of time, like, let me know when it suits. And that's another case where I was like, oh fuck, what do I say back to that? Like, you know, and it's, in hindsight now, it's like, yeah, just say when suits you. But at the time, you're like, I'd be freaking out thinking like, Jesus, this is one of the top athletes in the world, and I never even expected him to reply. But yeah, once you get over that, like, I suppose it gets easier. And then the more kind of people you interview, the less you're kind of worried about who the person is, and you kind of want to drill in a bit deeper, like, because it is easy to be like, Jesus, I'm talking to Sean Woodland and Tommy Marquez, like, they're the fucking faces of the sport, like. But I think that episode actually helped a lot because they're so big, and like, if you follow CrossFit at all, you know Sean Woodland's voice like immediately. So as when they were reassuring, and then at the end of the episode they were like, man, that was really good fun, we had a blast, if you ever want us back on, just let me know. So that gave me a huge boost. And then when I did the Tim Poulsen one and Arm & Hammer one, I had a great laugh with the two of them. And then Dorina from Filthy was over at Wadapalooza, and she had given me Arm & Hammer's email address, and was like, she said afterwards when I interviewed her, she was like, I was expecting to have to go up to Arm and Hammer and be like, look, I'm sorry I gave out your email, like I hope it wasn't inconvenience or whatever. But she's like, before I even had a chance to speak to him, he came over and was like, oh, I just did a podcast with a guy that was talking about you, God, it was great fun. And then Tim Hus did the same. So then once I hear that kind of stuff, I'm like, right, fuck it, it's grand. Whatever happens, happens. Once like 9 out of 10 people that do the interviews enjoy it, it's grand. Like,
Yeah. And did you like talking to the big names, did you find, because you've done like Emma McQuaid and PD Savage as well, but they were in person, were they?
yeah.
Do you find like a difference in how nervous you were, or had you met Emma and PD before, or?
I was very nervous for the Emma McQuaid one. I don't know, there's a couple of factors there. I think it was in her house. That's probably added to it. When I remember we walked in the door, Vincent and Esther came with me. And we walked in the door and Vincent stopped and I kept walking and Vincent was like, oh, do you want us to take our shoes off? And I was halfway up the hallway. So in my head already, I was like, you fucking idiot. Like, you know, so that kind of set the tone. But I think like PD was instantly like relaxed me straight away. And like, I think when I walked in there, he was kind of chatting away or whatever. And he was talking to Vincent. I kind of arrived in there with all the gear. And he was like, oh, how are you? And I just kind of looked at him for a minute. And I was like, Jesus, you are fucking massive. And that was the first thing I said to him. And he just laughed. And then it was just grand after that. Like, but no, there'd be some. I was very nervous for the Emma McQuaid one. And I got on really well with Emma. Like, I kind of chat to her back and forth since. And we get on really well. But I think it affected the episode a bit because I was nervous. And I think, I don't know, I kind of got an idea in my head of like, oh, she's waiting for me to catch her out or something. And that kind of played into the interview a bit, like where I was kind of, I don't know, I think like her back kind of got up a bit, probably because of the energy I had, because I was nervous, thinking something was going to go wrong, do that kind of way. But like, I find it easier interviewing people face to face because you can kind of, you know, you might ask them a question, you might see them twitch a bit or whatever, or you know, you might see something, whereas it can be hard sometimes through a screen because like you're, I don't know, it's just difficult to kind of match the energy or whatever when one person's looking into their phone or into their laptop and you're looking into a laptop or whatever. And then there's as well another a big thing I found lately was some people, like if you're talking to them face to face, you can kind of gauge really easily when they're about to say something and you can stop talking or you can trail off and let them kick in. But I found that on, like, interviewed Travis Williams the other day and like there was some really awkward moments where I thought he was finished talking and like he genuinely seemed like he was finished talking because he'd finish a sentence and then I'd start to say something and then he'd start to say something and he'd go, oh no, sorry, go on. And then you don't want to have an interview where it's like, no, you go. But like that interview with Travis Williams is like 25, 30 minutes long just because of, and it's purely because of the Skype thing, like because of that barrier was between us. And it was kind of, there was no opportunity to have a bit of crack. Like it was kind of, it stilted a little bit, like, you know?
Yeah. Cool. And did, like, you don't have to answer this question, but like, it's kind of like asking someone with multiple children to pick their favorite child, but like, was there a favorite episode or a favorite guest so far? You can say no comment.
I really liked the Tim Poulton one.
Cool.
He
is as big in person.
Yeah. But I loved like how honest he was and the stuff he talked about. Like, you know, he basically gave a blow by blow, like second by second, of one of the worst sporting moments of his career, and he was so honest with it. So I loved that I got that out of him, and no one else had gotten it out of him before. I love the episode with Joe because like he's one of my best friends. Like he's my daughter's godfather. Like he's changed my life from the minute I joined his gym. Like everything in my life changed. Like so, he and like him justice kind of made it one of my favorites. Then like the Vincent one, like it was very, like the Vincent one was probably difficult. Like that really knocked me for six because like I knew things about him, but then the deeper he got into it, the more difficult it was, like for me even not to break down and cry, like listening to him, or not to get emotional when he was talking about certain things. Like, so that would probably be a highlight for as a low light, if you know what I mean. Like, it was
Yeah.
like, it was a great episode and it got loads of good reaction and stuff, but it was particularly difficult to record. But I think the fact that I finished it and put it out and was happy with it, like, I think that'll stand to me as I go on, like, you know.
Cool. I'm just laughing here because I listen to any podcast I listen to on like 1.25 or 1.5 speed. So I'm like, this is not what you sound like. What's happening? And so, do you have a favorite podcast apart from your own?
I really enjoy the Talking Elite ones.
Cool.
I really enjoy Blind Boys podcast as well. I think the issue I have with Blind Boys one is that I listen to it and I'm going to bed, so I only ever hear the first 35 minutes, and then I fall asleep, and then I'm trying to guess, oh, where would I have been in that episode now last night when I was going to sleep. So I'm trying to scroll through, trying to find where I was. So that kind of interrupts it a bit. But some of his episodes, some of his psychology ones and stuff are mind blowing. Like, you know, it's like he says certain things and you're like, Jesus, it's like he's known, like he's pinpointed things that I do. I don't know, it's general, you know, but some of those ones are good. Stuff You Should Know is actually really good because it's the equivalent of like Friends on the TV in the background. It's just so banal and so like you don't need to really concentrate on it, and you'll pick something up as you're listening to it. Other ones then, like I listen to certain guests more so than I'd listen to podcasts. Like, say, Tricky Ricky, you know, Richard Hill owns like CrossFit Gritstone in England. And he's really open about like depression and his time in the army and coming back, and, you know, opening the gym, the struggles and stuff like that. So if I know he's been on a podcast, I'll go and find it and I listen to it. And then he has a mate, Chris Willix, I think is his name. He was on Love Island like 3 or 4 years ago or something, but he has good podcasts as well. Like, I don't know how the fuck he ended up on Love Island, because like he does like self-help episodes, and then he does like, he had Steve Fawcett on from JST actually yesterday, and about halfway through that episode, and it is really good. But yeah, I suppose outside of those three that I kind of flick in and out of, I'd more so be like, if I see on someone's Instagram they did an episode, I'll go and hunt out the episode and listen to that. But then that's hard as well, because sometimes you might hear like a host that just gets under your skin straight away. And I know I probably get under some people's skin straight away, but like, you know, when you're say if you're listening to someone talking and you're like, just shut the fuck up and let the person talk. Like, I'm here to listen to that person. I don't give a shit about what you have to say. Like, but yeah, if someone on Instagram puts up that they're on a podcast and I like the person, or even if I don't know anything about them, but I'm interested in what they have to say, I'll go and hunt them out and find them. Like,
yeah, cool. So the podcast is Coffee, Pods, and Wods. So are you drinking coffee right now? And how many do you have a day?
Yeah, I'm drinking coffee now. How many a day? I'm trying to think how many I've had today.
I wouldn't sleep if I had.
I think that's 4 or 5 today. I'm fairly good. I used to be fucking chronic. Like, I used to be really bad. I'd say I drank like 1.5 liters coffee one day, where I was supposed to go to do an interview and it fell through, and I just drank all the coffee that I made for 3 people, and I just drank it over the course of the day. But no, like, that's West Cork coffee now. That's really nice. I usually get 3FE, but then I found that West Cork coffee, and like, it's really, really good. So I'd say there's a fair chance I'll swap over, which I never thought I'd say. But yeah, I'd have one in the morning, then I'd have one before breakfast, and then I'd have one after breakfast, and then I'd have one like around lunchtime if I was going to train or whatever, and then I'm just have one now because of this. But yeah, no, I used to be really bad. I used to have like 7 or 8 cups in a day, and then I kind of toned it down because I was like, I don't know, started to feel a bit weird, like not like my heart or anything.
That's a good reason.
Like, my skin started to feel a bit weird, like, and I was like, you know, I know it's not a diuretic or anything, but it's still kind of like, does it count as drinking water if it's boiled and put in with caffeine? So then I cut back on coffee so that I drink more water, if you know what I mean. And then I've kind of stayed at about 4 cups a day roughly.
Okay, cool. That's not too bad. And you mentioned training there. So do you have a favorite like workout or type of workout? Like, are you gymnastics, barbell, engine? What do you prefer to see come up?
Gymnastics. I'm 100 kilos. Um,
You're locked down now, man. You gotta work on that.
do I have a favorite type of workout? If there's something with the assault bike that's really fast, like short, quick bursts in the assault bike, I eat the assault bike if it's short and quick. Then, but like Vincent is doing like a master's or a thesis or something about cardio. I don't know. I don't actually understand what it is, but he basically wants me to do intervals on the bike. So I'm doing that for him twice a week. So hopefully that'll build the cardio, like longer version of cardio a bit. I'm getting better at barbell cycling, so I'm enjoying that. I don't like heavy lifts because I think I'm not as strong as I think I should be. But there's West Cork coffee now.
I was just about to say that, yeah.
And
good timing.
Correcting me on what my interval thing is. I think if there's a heavy lift, I think because I'm like 6 foot, like in around 100 kilos, I feel like I should be able to clean and jerk over 100 kilos easily. I should be, that kind of way, and that kind of gets into my head. So I kind of don't really enjoy big lifts that much. But I love things that I think I should be shit at, because then there's no pressure and I can go and enjoy it, But yeah, if there's anything with the assault bike, I'll enjoy it.
I think you talked about that maybe on your episode that you did solo, of like being in a competition and the bike was first or something, was it?
Yeah. Like, okay, I waver between shitting the bed on it totally, like just going out way too hot because I'm like, oh, assault bike, cool, and then I just go like, and then I like have to walk over dumbbells and I'm standing there for like 4 minutes because I can't move.
Yeah.
I think the thing with the assault bike is if it's anything below 20 calories, grand. I think that workout was in the Summit Games in Killarney, and it was the road bike. I'd never been on one before, but I was like, I can't be any different than the assault bike. Just eat it and hope for the best. And I knew chest to bars was next, and I was shit at those, so I had to make up time early on. So I sat on the bike, just went for it, and then after a couple of seconds, I was like, definitely going as fast as I would go on the assault bike, and I'm still not finished. What the fuck is wrong with this thing? But obviously the road bike is just slower. So I went out way too hot on that, but then it was like it suited me well afterwards. But I'm kind of getting better now. That's stuff that Vincent has me doing showed today. So Joe and Katie are programming online. Because they've had to close the gym obviously, but they did like a cardio session today, and it was you have to do 4 minutes or 4 miles on the bike, 4 minutes rest, and then 2 miles on the bike with 2 minutes off in between, and then 1 miles on the bike with a minute off in between. And like I kind of feel 2 weeks ago that would have floored me altogether, but then nothing is going to be as bad as the interval Vincent is making me do. So it was kind of grand, like that kind of way. But I think like we're doing a gymnastics workshop when we were before the lockdown and that every Wednesday, and like handstands is something I want to get better at. So that's my focus in the lockdown, is to just train like whatever Joe and Katie put up. I'll do 1 or 2 of them a day, strength most days, and then might do cardio or back on whatever. And then in any free time, I downloaded that Wods to try and get a bit more flexible, because they've like 40 days free trial or something because of the
I saw that, yeah.
And then I'll try and work on handstands a bit as well, gymnastics, because it's definitely something I'm shit at. It's a long list, but it's on it.
At least you're positive.
Yeah.
Cool. So I think it would be upsetting if we didn't talk about The Fittest, the new movie, and what you thought about it.
I really liked it.
Yeah, me too.
I think, like, There was definitely a sense of nostalgia there because me and Orla and I were at the games last year. So there was a bit of like, oh look, there's that like wall that we walked past, or there's that tent we saw. You could see our tent on, like when the drone shots were in, it was like, oh, that's where we were. And then it was actually also quite funny because the first night we got there, I think we got there on like Monday, and the game started on the Thursday. I think, and we were in like a pre-set up tent. Like it was kind of like glamping. There was like a bed in it and stuff, and it was all pre-set up. And we were there anyway. And then in the middle of the night, like about, I don't know, 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock at night, Orla was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go and get water." And there was like a water station over beside where all the trailers were, and it was fucking insane looking back on it. Like Sean Sweeney was staying in the trailer park. Rory was staying in the trailer park. Rich Groening was staying in the trailer park. The Buttery Bros, Talking Elite, they were all in the trailer park. And it's only now, like looking back, it was like, why the fuck did you not go up and talk to these people when you were like, you know, like Sean Sweeney going past on his electric scooter or whatever, going around the like the trailer park, whatever. But Orla went for a drink to like this fountain, and then came back, and she was like effervescent. She was like jumping all around the place. I was like, what is wrong with you? She's like, I went over to use the water, and it's not free, it's not people's water at all, it belongs to that trailer. And I was like, it's not. Like there was like a bottle, you know, like a tap, but it was like an electric thing that had been put in, and it was like, you know, 4 feet off the ground with like a button on it or whatever to fill the water. It was a big blue light. And she's like, no, it definitely belongs to that trailer. Whoever that trailer is, they definitely own it. And then the next day I went over, and they had moved the water away from the trailer. So obviously other people were thinking the same thing, as belonged to that trailer. But that was actually the Buttery Bros trailer. And it was only afterwards that I was kind of like, that would have been so funny. Because she said there was like, well, some guy was walking into the trailer and he was like staring at me when he was walking in. But she'd be a great one for like, you know, attributing tone to stuff.
Okay.
So your man was just like, oh, we better get that water moved away. It's very close to us. Like,
Yeah. And did you reach out to the Buttery Bros?
yeah, they actually, so before Miami, they said to do an episode. And then
Cool.
they were like, things are pretty fucking crazy at the minute because of Miami and that. They're heavily involved in that. And I was like, oh yeah, grand, like whatever. And then when they came back, then I messaged them again then afterwards being like, oh, let me know when it suits. And they were like, yeah, definitely. And then things kind of kicked off with the fittest being released and stuff. So they're like, I'm going to leave them for a couple of weeks because they seem fairly, like, there's an awful lot of stuff going on. Because like Matt O'Keefe is doing that United Movement thing, and I think they're involved in that as well. So I'm kind of going to wait until the dust kind of settles a bit and then reach out again, because I don't want to be annoying either, like, you know. But yeah, no, I really liked the film. I think even though you know what happens, like the workout bits are still like, oh shit, he's going to catch him.
Yeah.
You know, like you still get kind of excited about it. I think there was some fairly random bits in the middle, like interspersed throughout, but I think some of those random bits showed different sides to people, like the chat between Matt O'Keefe and Matt Fraser, where they're like, oh, we used to share a bed at the first time we were at the games, we shared a bed. Like, that's mind-blowing when you hear stuff like that, and you wouldn't hear it if it wasn't for those kind of weird bits that seem kind of disjointed. Like, it was kind of, there was a certain flow to it. They would just stop and they'd be talking to like Sammy about how she cooks food for Matt or whatever, and then I'd go back to like the flow of the movie. So it was a bit weird, but I suppose there's only the two of them doing it. Like, if you see the list of credits, there's only like, there's about 7 people or something, and it's a fairly big project to take on. So I think like one of the worst stories I heard was that like they did a podcast with Matt O'Keefe, and they said that after the previous year's games, they had all their footage ready to go, and then CrossFit like shut everything down and just took all the footage off them. So they were left with like nothing. They had no, you know. So like, that's something I'd love to talk to them about, because that must be a fucking serious kick in the teeth. Like,
Yeah.
But yeah, like they were just ready to go and edit, and CrossFit were like, oh no, it gives all that back there. But like, I think they obviously, like, I don't know what the fuck is going on there, because they've all their social media platforms back up and running now. They're advertising the fittest movie on the CrossFit Instagram page. they're putting up clips and stuff. I just don't understand. Like, so I'd love to sit down with Glassman as well and just be like, will you just explain that 18-month period, please?
It's like a crazy ex, girlfriend or boyfriend, I better say that you don't know what they're going to do. And it's like they take everything away at one stage and then they bring it back. And it's like now they're talking about the games might be online and who knows what's going to happen.
From what Castro said and I was actually talking to Joshua about this yesterday, and he was like, he hasn't qualified or anything, but he was like, man, I hope they don't like scrap it, because the way Castro was talking was like, nah, I'll probably just write the year off and start again. And it was kind of like, whoa, wait a minute. There's a lot of people that have qualified either as national champions or as sanctional winners or runners up or whatever. And Joshua made a good point that I suppose I kind of didn't think of. He was like, Castro made the link between like, the American football, like, it's just cancelled, that's it. Like, what can you do? Or I suppose close to home, the GA, like, if that doesn't get up, like, I mean, they've said June, but like, I can't see that happening, to be honest. But like, he kind of said, like, similar to the GAS was, he was like, these guys aren't paid, like, he's like, their opportunity to make money or to build their business or whatever is by having their face at the games and by finishing, above the cuts or whatever for a certain amount of time, and that will boost their income then for the next year. He was like, if you take that away from people, like, what do they do? Like, there's going to be people that just walk away from the sport because they've missed a year of it, like, So I suppose I kind of didn't think of that, but I don't know, like, I was kind of saying to him, like, what do you do? It's the same with the Leaving Cert really here, like, where people are talking about, like, oh, we'll just scrap this year and then do it again next year. And it's like, right, so double the amount of people are going for the same amount of college places next year then that are there this year. And then it'll be the same next year. It's like, right, well, for the games, do we just let everyone in and then have the Open again and let those people in? And you'll just have fucking double the amount of people. There's already too many people there. And then you'll have double the amount again. You'll have to have like 2 cuts on the first day. Like, it would just be crazy. So, but then you don't want to not reward, like, say, the likes of Emma and PD and people that have made it in this year. You don't want to not reward them. But then I suppose if you said PD Savage, would you be happy doing the games if it was online? I don't know, would he be, to be honest?
It's not the same experience really, is it?
No.
Oh. And then you'd have like even in the UK, I think the battle for first on the male side was really close. Like, it came down to the last week. I think it was like Zach George and maybe Elliot Simmons or something like that. But like, imagine winning a battle that close and then like you don't actually get the experience. Yeah, it'd be mad. And I thought some people came off really bad in the fittest.
Yeah.
Like some sore losers out there. I didn't like that. Some people who I'm not a big fan of now. You don't have to comment on that. Get them on the podcast.
I asked Matt O'Keefe about it. Like, did he? Well, I kind of started asking him about it, and then he answered it. Like, well, he kind of let me know what his answer was going to be, so I just kind of stopped asking it. Like, but like, he'd represent Fikowski and Vellner and Brooke Wells, and like, Fikowski was kind of pragmatic about it. He was a bit like, look, it's bullshit, but it is the way it is, and I need to be better or whatever. Vellner was a bit like, he had a bit of a sore lip about it, like, and then like, Brooke Wells really pissed me off, like, because, obviously you're going to be disappointed in the moment, but like, those interviews don't happen immediately afterwards. So those talking head bits, some of those were done in Hawaii, which was like fucking 2 months later. Some of them were done in Australia. Like, they fly all over and catch up with people at different events and stuff and get like talking head bits. They show them the clip back and say, oh, like, what did you feel at this moment or whatever. But like, she really pissed me off because it was like, oh, I think I'm the fittest I've ever been, and now I don't get to prove it. And it was like, well, if you were the fittest you ever were, surely you wouldn't have been cut. Like, like, if you're cut, you're cut. Like, and then she was like, oh, I stood on the line, or I stood on the tape. So it's not, it wasn't something what was it she said? It wasn't my performance. It was because I stood on the tape. So I didn't really learn anything. It was like, sure, you learned not to stand on the fucking tape. Like, like Castro said, he was like, we told everyone, don't stand on the tape. And he's like, after I walked up and down, I was like, don't stand on the tape. Now, the next day after they got cut, I did a Reebok thing Reebok asked me. No, I fucking begged and lined up for hours. There was a Reebok thing on at the games, and it was like you could do a class, and they're all on like throughout. But a rumor went around that Fikowski and Annie Thorsdottir were going to be at the Reebok one the morning after they got cut. So I was like, fuck it, I'll put her name down and see. So I queued up early in the morning, went in, put our names down, and then they turned up, and then Vellner was there as well. And it was like they just did a workout, and then they chatted for a while. And I think the thing that annoys me about Vellner was he was so considered in what he said the next day. And it was kind of like, after watching the movie, it's like, why didn't you think about what you were saying when you were saying it? So like, fair enough, when he's hopping into the ice bath and he's like, oh, that was bullshit with the lanes, like, grand, because that's 5 minutes after the fact, so fair enough. Like, but like, say afterwards, the next day at that workout, he was like, look, I just need to be better. He was like, I need to adapt to the way that things are. And he kind of touched on that a bit in the movie, but he kind of didn't say it enough. And obviously edits don't help as well. It's better for the Buttery Bros, I suppose, if it's more sensationalized or whatever. But I think he was kind of, the next day when he's talking to me, he was like, you know, like, I just need to be better. And he was like, the reality of it is, if I didn't run as hard as I did, I wouldn't have qualified. And because I had to run as hard as I did, I stood on the line and I was out anyway. So he was like, no matter what happened, he's like, I couldn't slow down because I needed to make the cut. But in order to go as fast as I needed to make the cut, I stood on the line. And he was like, that's just the way it is. And I remember afterwards talking to Orla being like, man, he was so fucking chilled out about getting cut. I can't believe it. Like, you know, I'd be so cut up about it. And he was just so like, you know, it is what it is or whatever. And then watching the movie back, I was like, who the fuck is this guy? What's he doing with Vellner that I spoke to? Like, you know, it's just, I don't know, it's strange. Like, but yeah, another man I'd love to talk to and just be like, are you happy with how you came across? Like, because I'd say he's gotten some amount of abuse over it. Like,
I'd say so, yeah.
Even the stuff between him and Castro, it's tongue in cheek and that, but you know there's vicious messages. Like, I don't mean between the two of them, but there's, you know that they're getting shitty messages off, like those armchair wankers that are just, you know, just hating on people. Like, and I think he strikes me as the type of person that will get a lot of. He's a bit Marmite-y, I'd say. Like, I'd say a lot of people dislike him just for no reason. So I'd say he already puts up with a lot of shit. So I'd say it's doubled after that, like, because he didn't do himself any favors really, like.
No. Yeah, I think like the fact that, like you said, there's only like 6 or 7 staff. Like, they missed out on, like, was it Holta and Jamie Green? There was nothing about them. They finished on the podium. And then, like, they were naturally going to interview the people.
If you look at the list, I was actually going through it. Orla named out the athletes, and they're all Loud and Live. So, like, Vellner, Fikowski, Matt Fraser, Tia Toomey, Noah Olsen's the only one that's not. But I think Noah Olsen is so fucking nice that he'd never say no to doing an interview. Like, and I think James Newbury isn't either. But James Newbury's only in it, like, he basically talked about 2 workouts. He talked about swimming past Noah Olsen, and he talked about his my moment on the bike.
It was awesome.
But yeah, like, everyone else is a Loud and Live athlete. So and because the Buttery Bros are so heavily involved in Wodapalooza, and Wodapalooza is a Loud and Live event, I was immediately, when I saw the people, thinking like, right, okay, because it kept going back to the same athletes. Like, Sam Briggs was in it for about 30 seconds. Sarah Sigmundsdottir was in it for about 30 seconds. There was 2 or 3 other athletes where it was kind of like blink and you miss them, and they all have either independent representation or they're just not involved or whatever, like, you know. So, like, because usually you'd imagine Sarah Sigmundsdottir, even though she didn't do particularly well, you'd imagine that she'd be fairly high because she's a fan favorite and because she's like a Nike athlete and stuff. You'd imagine they'd focus on her a lot, and they didn't at all. But yeah, I think the Loud and Live thing had a lot to do with it. I'd say they had access to certain people, and Matt maybe said, oh, look, when you talk to the lads or whatever, like, because I think Catherine was in as well. She's in Loud and Live as well, and so was Annie.
Cool. And did when you were talking to Matt on your podcast, did you try and then link up to like some Loud and Live people? That'll be a handy one to say, hey, Matt Fraser, look, I've already talked to Matt O'Keefe.
Yeah, well, he fucking dropped me in with Matt Fraser, actually. I messaged, like I said, pretty much fucking everyone you could name. Anyone that I wanted to talk to, I'd message them. So I said afterwards, like when I kind of got the impression he enjoyed it, I was like, oh, will you tell A, B, C, and D to just check their DMs there when they get a chance? Like, and he was like, oh yeah, definitely. And then he put up his episode with Matt, Pat, and Brent. And in it, he said, and I put up the clip where he was like, oh, I was doing a podcast with an Irish guy. And I was watching it. I was like, oh, fuck, this might be me. And then he was like, and I asked him who'd win 7 minutes of burpees. And I was like, oh, don't actually tell him that I fucking said he'd lose. And he was like, I said, Matt or Tia? And he said, oh, Tia. And straight away I started texting him because I was like, I was not that fucking confident when I said Tia's name. I hemmed and hawed. I was like, oh, maybe Tia? And then he told Matt as if it was like, oh, hands down, it's going to be Tia. So I messaged him. I put it up on my story. I messaged him about it. And he messaged back and was like laughing or whatever. And he was like, oh, I told you I'd tell him or whatever. And I was like, yeah, did you also happen to tell him to check his DMs maybe? But I think all that, the United movement and all that kind of stuff is like, that's really high up on all of their agendas now at the minute. So I don't want to be a pest either. Like, you know, I've messaged them. If they see it, they see it. If they don't, hopefully they'll see something. Like, you know, I had a couple of moments there. I'd say I've had like 3 holy fuck moments so far. So when I was interviewing Arm & Hammer, I got a notification on my phone and it was like, Tim Poulsen has tagged you in a post. And I was like, that's pretty fucking weird, because his episode was like 2 weeks before that. And then I got another notification saying Noel Olsen has commented on a post that you were tagged in. And I was like, I burst out laughing and Arm & Hammer was like, what? Because he wasn't telling a funny story. Like, I was like, oh, I just had a weird moment. And I told him and he was like, oh, that's really fucked up. And then the other one, okay, like you kind of make links between people. So like Tim is good friends with Noah. Then Joshua that I interviewed yesterday is friendly with Noah as well. So you're kind of, part of you is relying on the fact that hopefully the person you're talking to enjoys the interview enough to say to one of their friends, oh, you know, you might want to have a look at this or whatever. But then like I put up a post with the Matt O'Keefe when I was doing that, promoting the episode or whatever before I put it up, and like I got a notification like 2 days later. It was like, oh, Annie Torzoller liked your post, and I was like, holy fuck, that's weird. And then I got one there this morning that was like, Pat Fellner has liked your post, and it's like, oh, is there a way to immediately contact the person that just liked your post? But it's not, like, you're just still waiting for the little tick to say seen, like, you know. But yeah, I think like I like, people have said to me like, oh, you lose that though, you lose that like giddiness about when certain people see things and stuff like that, or, you know, comment or follow or whatever. But I hope I never do, like, because it's like, it's the main element of crack I get out of it is like, right, how far can I take it? Because like, it's just a passion project. It's a bit of crack. Like, it's, you know, it's a bit of fun. I'm not taking it too seriously. I don't for a minute expect to ever make a living off it, or, you know, to be able to take a career break or quit or do anything like that. And I don't want to do that. Like, I have a job and like, I'm happy with it. This is just a bit on the side or whatever. I think I'm really lucky because my wife is insanely supportive of it. Like, she's given me a whole new set of reasons to love her, by how she's just like, no, it's fine, go and do your interview, or no, it's grand, go and whatever, you know. Like, she's really supportive of it and she knows that I love doing it. And then I think like I haven't, as far as I know anyway, I haven't ever gotten a message that I haven't replied to, of someone saying like, really enjoyed it or whatever. Like, I love getting those messages. And I had a conversation the other day about coffee actually with someone, with Joe actually, and he was like, I don't care who you are or what you do, you'll end up getting to a point where you just churn shit out. And like, he was specifically talking about coffee. But then as soon as he said that, I kind of, in my head, made a decision of like, I'm never going to be that person. Like, I'm never going to get to a stage where I just churn out any old shit for an episode. Who gives a fuck? Like, just put something out and like, people will listen. Like, I want it to be worthwhile. Like, this week's will be tight now because I don't know how much I'm going to get like out of it. I think I might do a double bill. I think put 2 episodes together, and like, that's a shit ton of work for me, but I wouldn't feel right about just putting out any old shit and being like, oh fuck it, that'll do them till next week. Like, so I'd rather spend 2 or 3 hours getting something right tonight so that people can enjoy it. Now, the good side about the virus is I have access to people that I could never have had access to before. The bad side is fuck all people are listening because no one's commuting anymore. People have their kids at home. They have, like, I got one message off a lady who was like, oh, I usually go for a walk when my son has basketball. And I listen to the episode when he's doing his basketball because I go off for a walk. She's like, can't go to basketball anymore, so I don't get my walk in, so I don't get to listen. So like my listenership has fallen off a cliff in the last week. But like, I just have to trust that it'll come back then whenever things settle off, like, you know. But yeah, like I spoke to, you know, Fluffy Duck, you know, he does like memes and that kind of stuff. I spoke to him the other day, and like, he was good, like he was like fun, and you know, he's just, it kind of showed me what I like, nothing against him at all, because it's obviously how he makes his money and shit, like, but he kind of showed me what I don't want to be like, because he knew so much about his following, like numbers and trends, and like, oh, if I do this, I'll lose loads. If I do this, I'll gain loads. If I do this, this will happen. Or he knew so much about it. And like, he spoke, I'd say for about 15 minutes, he spoke about followers and stuff. And at the end of it, and I still, now I'm like, God, I really hope he didn't take offense to that. But at the end of it, I was like, thank fuck I don't give a shit about any of that. Because like, say, okay, I put up a thing the other day saying like, right, can I get to 10,000 listeners and 1,000 followers in the same day? But that was purely just for the crack, just to see if I could do it. But now that I'm over 1,000 followers, I honestly don't care what happens. Like, if I go back down to 1 or if I go up to 10,000, I don't care. It'd be handy to get to 10,000 because I could do that swipe up thing. But other than that, it doesn't bother me. The listeners doesn't bother me. Like, I just want people to hear it, and I want people to enjoy it. And if they enjoy it, I want them to say to their mate or their mom or their cousin or whoever, oh, I think you'd like this. It was actually funny. I was coming back from a walk earlier on, and there was a guy socially distance chatting to someone in a car. So he was like on the footpath, like shouting across, so I could hear everything that they were saying as I was coming past. And he was like, Ash, you know yourself, just go for a walk, you just listen to a couple of podcasts. And I was so close to going, oh, have you looked up? I didn't do it, but yeah, it would have been funny. But yeah, like, you know, it's very easy to get sucked into that kind of shit. Like, I remember at the start, I have a whiteboard in the kitchen with like who I need to record with and who I need to edit and when I'm putting the episodes out, because I just forget otherwise. Like, I've had some days where I woke up yesterday and I freaked thinking I'd forgotten an interview the night before, but I didn't. But like, I have to start writing everything down with dates and stuff. But I used to have the number of followers written up there on Instagram, and I used to have like the number of episodes the number of listens that each episode get, and I changed it every so often. Like, every few days I'd look it up and I change it, whatever. And then I was just like what are you doing here? What are you expecting to gain from it? What, like, because even there's a thing on Instagram. Have you a business account on Instagram?
Yeah.
You know the way you can do your insights and you see your audience or whatever. And then I clicked on that once, and when I clicked on it, it was like 19 followers, 1 person unfollowed, total growth 18. And like, 19 followers in a 7-day period is pretty good. But I found myself immediately being like, who's that person? What did I do that they didn't like? What did I say something they didn't like? Did I put something up they didn't like? Like, why did they not like what I did? And then I was like, maybe they don't like me. Like, maybe I did something. It's like, oh, what's wrong with me? And then I was like, whoa, hold the fucking door here. Like, relax yourself. I was like, you're going down a dark path. So I haven't clicked on that since, because it's as choppy waters, like, if you start looking at stuff like that, you know?
Yeah, I would have been like that, like, back in the day, but I actually read a book by a guy named Paul Moore, who's like a business coach, fitness business coach. And he said, if you're not getting unfollows or unsubscribes, you're doing something wrong. You're sitting on the fence and no one's going to fucking listen or do business with you anyway. So yeah. I was like, oh yeah, someone unfollowed me. I'm doing something right.
Yeah,
I take the opposite. It's hard to get into.
No, I wouldn't be able to. I don't think I can compartmentalize it yet. I don't think I have the self-esteem required to be like, fuck them, who cares? Like, I immediately was like, who was it? What did they do? What did I do wrong? Like, why don't you like me? But I think if I'm just blind to it, I don't need to deal with those demons if I just ignore them.
Yeah. What could go wrong? Cool. I think a realistic goal would be like to get a media pass to a sanctional. I think that'd be awesome.
Yeah, I was actually offered one to. I was actually offered one to anything I wanted, to the games or wherever I wanted, and we landed on Madrid, and then a couple of things happened, but sure, look, it's not going ahead anyway. But yeah, I think there's a fair chance I'll have one at Filthy next year. And Darina and Jamie offered me like a stand or whatever, like to catch people coming off the floor and have quick chats and stuff like that. So if that goes ahead, that'd be pretty cool. It's funny, I'm relaxed now, but at the start I was shitting it for about an hour before this because it's something different, and you don't know, say, I suppose similar things to Follows where I was like, oh, what if no one watched it? What if it's just me and Matty sitting there? It's just really awkward because it's just us and nobody else. So I think I'd be similar with the media pass. I'd be like, oh, what if someone says what the fuck are you doing here? Or if I ask an athlete, oh, can I talk to you for a minute? And they're like, who the fuck are you? So I think I am getting better at dealing with that, and I'm getting better at say I was only nervous for about an hour before this, whereas 6 months ago I probably would have been nervous for a day and a half, because those kind of doubts kick in where you're like, oh, what if someone called me a dickhead and I see it scrolling up on the thing, or what if someone, what if no one watches? What if people only watch to watch a car crash or whatever? But I think certain episodes have helped me get over that. I think certain conversations, I have a good few conversations with Orla about it, my wife, and I have a good few conversations with Vincent, just about doubts and stuff. After the Travis Williams one, I went back downstairs and Orla was like, Jesus, that was quick. And I was like, yeah, too quick. And she was like, yo, was it okay or whatever? And I was like, oh, I don't think I'm good at this. I just couldn't, couldn't do it. I couldn't break him. I couldn't, there was nothing there. And then after the Joshua one yesterday, and Matt McLeod, I interviewed him as well in between, and that went quite well. But I think at the back of my mind, I was thinking of the Travis Williams one and then how badly I thought that went. So then that affected the Matt McLeod one. But then the Joshua one went really well. So I went back downstairs and Orla was like, oh, how'd you go? I was like, good, yeah, I think I've got my mojo back. I think I actually can do it. And she was like, of course you can fucking do it. And I think Vincent is the same, where if I ever tell him a doubt, he'll just be like, will you just seriously cop the fuck on? It means a lot, say, when you send me a message, or Hannah from Connacht sends me a message, or Vincent sends me a message, or if Katie from the gym mention something, because I know that you've all listened from the first episode up, so I know that your opinion is genuine, and you've all criticized certain aspects at different times, or yeah, I didn't really like that one that much, or I didn't like that bit that much, but overall whatever, it's never just a generic stuff was good. There's actual helpful critique in it, so I know if I get a positive message off one of ye, I know that it's been a good episode. But then I suppose the thing with getting a media pass or going to a sanction or stuff, there is that doubt of oh, but I just have this. That's it. It's not, I don't have a big fucking van or a team of 10 or whatever. But yeah, I think the more episodes I do, the more confident I feel. The more confident I feel, the more ready I feel to go to something like that. And sure, look, the way things are now, there's going to be sweet fuck all happening for the next 4 or 5 months anyway, so I'll get plenty of time to get a bit more confident in the background.
Well, with that guest list, coming up with Matt McLeod, Joshua, Jacob Hebner, those big names will keep coming, and then by the time Filthy 150 rolls around, you'll know a large percentage of the people on the floor. So hopefully that'll give you some in. Yeah. All right, man. We're going to leave it there because Instagram is going to kick us off any second now. We've been talking for an hour, which is awesome. Thank you very much for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Thanks very much.
Go
Enjoyed it.
check out Peter's podcast, Coffee Pods and Wods. People see me post about it all the time, but it's awesome if you don't listen to it. All right, there it is. Nice mug,
Right,
man.
cheers, man. Thank you.
Cool, right. Thanks a lot. See you later, Peter. Thank you. So, guys, thank you very much for watching. Thanks, Sully. Thanks, Margaret. And Peter really generously gave up an hour of his time. Hopefully, I'm not going to get kicked off my Instagram now. Thanks, Justin. The next one is going to be Thursday morning at 9:30, and it's going to be with Susan Bell, who is my cousin and an amazing coach down in Australia. So hopefully the delay won't be too bad. Thanks, James. Thanks for listening. So, yeah, tune in for that. I'll post more about that. But make sure you go follow Peter and listen to his podcast because it's awesome. Thanks very much for watching, guys. Thanks, Eagle.